In this short compilation today, we will be diving into some more fascinating aspects of Jamaican history that you might not know about. First up, we'll be exploring the iconic town clocks, those beautiful clock towers that have stood the test of time in our towns. We'll uncover who built them, why they were built, and the stories they tell. Next, we'll shift gears to the intriguing origin of stoplights in Jamaica. Did you know the inventor of the first stoplight was a black man? We'll delve into whether Jamaica had stoplights before the United States. And finally, we'll look at the curious case of the town clock that was meant for St. Lucia, but ended up right here in Lucia. It's a jam-packed compilation, so let's get started. Every single day, as we navigate through our towns, we often pass by familiar landmarks without even giving them a second thought. Among these landmarks are the town clocks that quietly stand sentinel, ticking away the moments of our lives. But have you ever paused to wonder about the history behind these clocks? When were they built? What stories do they hold? Join us as we explore the fascinating history of these iconic town clocks scattered across Jamaica. They may be easily overlooked, but their tales are rich with significance and heritage. So let's uncover the mysteries behind a few of these timeless symbols of our communities. And just to let you know that the clock at number 1 almost caused a war between Jamaica and another Caribbean island. Look out for that. Number 8. The Santa Cruz Clock Tower. The Santa Cruz Clock Tower is the youngest in Jamaica. This clock was erected in 2008 by the Rotary Club of Santa Cruz in memory of Irvin Anson. Irvin Anson served as councillor of the area for 25 years. This clock tower stands as a testament to community leadership and dedication. Number 7. The Duncan's Clock Tower in Trelawney. A little info about Duncan's Trelawney before we move along. Duncan's is said to have been named after Patrick Duncan, who owned the property in 1784. There is not a lot of information available about the clock tower in Duncan's. All we know is that it was donated by a Dr. Dewar, a resident of the parish, in memory of his wife who passed in 1935. Number 6. The Crossroads Clock Tower in Kingston. The Crossroads Clock Tower in Kingston was erected in 1955 by the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation. It was constructed in memory of those volunteers from the Kingston camp who lost their lives during the Second World War between 1939 and 1945. Written on the clock are the names of 50 of the volunteers. This clock tower stands as a symbol of honor, pride, and dignity for the role our volunteers played in defense of universal values. Number 5. The Halfway Tree Clock Tower in St. Andrew. The clock tower in Halfway Tree was built in 1913, and it was built as a memorial to King Edward VII of England. It is said that before the days of the clock tower, an ancient silk cotton tree stood in the same spot. Farmers and soldiers passing that area would stop to rest in the shade of this cotton tree or take a drink at one of the many taverns that were set up under its branches. The tree is said to have died in 1866. Number 4. The Chapelton Clock Tower in Clarendon. The Chapelton Clock Tower and War Memorial is a prominent landmark in the Chapelton Park. This clock tower commemorates the many men and women from Clarendon who fought and died in World War I from 1914 to 1918. The bust of Captain Cudger, the famed Maroon leader who fought and resisted the advances of the British, guards the entrance to the park. Fun fact about Chapelton. Back in the plantation era in Jamaica, Chapelton was a plantocracy settlement. A plantocracy settlement is a social and economic system where political power and wealth are held by a small group of plantation owners, especially in a colonial context. So instead of going to church in Maypen, the plantation owners built a church in Chapelton, where they worshipped. Local folk therefore spoke about the chapel in town, and after a while it became known as Chapeltown. With passing of time, the name was distorted and became known as Chapelton. If you like videos like these, guys, remember to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. Number 3. The Maypen Clock Tower in Clarendon. The Maypen Clock Tower in the parish of Clarendon was originally known as Dr. Bell Memorial Clock, and this clock tower was built in memory of Dr. Robert Glaister Samuel Bell. Dr. Bell was a prominent doctor in the area who is said to have done a lot for his community. On June 12, 1904, Dr. Bell went to Maypen to visit a sick patient in Lucky Valley. On his way back, while crossing the Ryamino at a place called Sevens Crossing, Dr. Bell died in a terrible accident. The hired driver, Isaac Johnson, also drowned along with 2 horses. Work began on the tower in 1907 and it was finished in 1908. Number 2. The Albert George Market Clock Tower, Falmouth, Trelawney. Built in 1894, the Albert George Market is the most prominent landmark of Falmouth's Water Square. It was erected to provide permanent shelter for merchants and buyers since the town foundation and soon thereafter. It is also rumored that this market was used to buy and sell slaves for slave merchants. Located on the southeast edge of the square, the structure has 2 distinct portions. The first of these is a single-story masonry gatehouse structure with a 3-story masonry and wood frame tower rising from the center. Designed as the building's main facade, the gatehouse faces Upper Harbour Street, the main commercial artery leading out of town, to the east rather than onto the square itself. In keeping with the town's Georgian character, familiar architectural forms of Caribbean neoclassicism are present in the gatehouse facade. The building's corners and window surrounds are enlivened with coins, while the gateway arch is crowned with a pediment at its center. Clock faces alternate with arched windows in the octagonal tower. The 1-story wings on either side of the gateway arch each contain a single room accessed by doors in the rear hall. 3 panels positioned at the sides of the gate record the building's construction. The upper panel to the east of the gate is engraved with the name of the building and its date of erection, flanked by 2 stars of David. Below is a panel listing the name of the Kingston-based construction firm that undertook the project, Purdon and Cox. To the west of the gate, a panel records the names of 2 local men, the Honorable L. C. Shirley, Chairman of the Trelawney Parish Council, and A. M. Solomon, Esquire, Chairman of the Market Commission. Judging by the number of Solomons buried in the Jewish cemetery, A. M. Solomon was probably a member of Falmouth's sizable Jewish community. Number 1. The Lucia Town Clock in Hanover. Have you ever received a package that made it to your place by mistake? Well, Jamaica had something pretty similar happen way back in the early 19th century. It all happened in the small coastal town of Lucea in Hanover. Now, the name Hanover sounds quite German, and you'd be right to assume as such. You see, at this time, there was a heavy European presence in Jamaica due to a long history of colonialism and slave trading. Thus, Jamaica's second smallest parish, Hanover, had German residents who owned land in its primary township. These residents had ordered a town clock to be erected in Lucea, but as it turns out, there was a mix-up in transit. As the story goes, the township's name bore a striking resemblance to St. Lucia in Eastern Caribbean. A sea captain that was charged to ship a German-gifted clock to St. Lucia confused Lucia with Lucy, and he can hardly be blamed for the mix-up, since Lucy had been known as Lucia and a few other similar names after its establishment. When the clock arrived, after its long journey from Germany, the townsfolk of Lucea refused to let it go. As mentioned, prior to the wrong clock being shipped to their town, Lucian residents had ordered a less extravagant time teller, and since they had already brokered a deal to have their own clock, they paid the difference between the St. Lucia and Lucea clocks and took ownership of their neighbor's gift. Now, try settling that through UPS or Amazon. Not long afterward, a local landowner financed the final construction of the clock in 1817. Have you ever wondered when it was that stoplights first arrived in Jamaica? Did you know the stop signal was invented by a black man? And did you know that the parish of St. Thomas just got its first stoplight in December of 2023? Let's go back in time. The first traffic signal. The first traffic signals actually predated the first automobiles. In 19th century London, there were hundreds of thousands of horse-drawn carriages. Given the amount of traffic in the crowded city, police were obliged to direct traffic all over the city. In 1868, railway engineer J.P. Knight invented the first signal light to help with road congestion. Knight's traffic signal was gas-powered and was controlled manually by a single police officer. The light was 22 feet high and used arms that could be raised and lowered to alert drivers when to yield and when to proceed. At night, the signal used colored glass in green and red as indicators. The indicators were lit with gas-fed flames to specify when drivers should proceed and when to stop. The first location to have this traffic signal installed was the intersection of Bridge Street and Great George Street in London in December of 1868. The concept seemed to be successful at controlling traffic, but this model was scrapped only after a few weeks when a gas line exploded and injured the police officer controlling the light. Even though the first traffic signal wasn't a very long-lived invention, the idea of traffic signals for managing street traffic became popular, and new styles were invented in different cities around the world. And though the first stoplight was invented and installed in England, many of the most popular innovations came from American inventors. A variety of styles emerged. At first, most were manually changed by police officers similar to Knight's London model. They were often based on designs similar to existing railroad signals and used combinations of words and colors to tell drivers when to stop and when to drive. Since they were manual, every individual traffic signal had to be attended by a police officer who would change the signal to control traffic flow. This other model was also short-lived due to safety concerns. However, the idea of traffic signals persisted, leading to various manual systems in different cities. But did you know that the electric stop signal as we know it today was patented by a black man, an African American named Garrett Morgan? Well, born in 1877 in Kentucky, Morgan overcame numerous challenges to become one of the most prolific inventors of his time. In 1923, he patented the three-position traffic signal, commonly known today as the stoplight, revolutionizing road safety and traffic management. But before he created the stop signal, he also invented the safety hood, a precursor to the gas mask, in 1914 after witnessing a mining accident. This device protected individuals from toxic gases and smoke, showcasing Morgan's commitment to enhancing safety and improving lives. So continue watching this video for more on this topic that you never even thought about. And if you like videos like these, please give the video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. The history of stoplights in Jamaica. The history of stoplights in Jamaica traces back to the same era as that of America, the early 20th century, when traffic management relied on manual methods, such as traffic officers directing vehicles with hand signals. However, as cities like Kingston experienced rapid growth and traffic congestion became a pressing issue, there arose a need for a more efficient solution. So in 1932, Kingston saw the installation of its first stoplight at the intersection of King Street and Arbor Street. This marked a significant milestone in the city's transportation history, ushering in a new era of urban planning and development. Over the years, the stoplights have become an integral part of Jamaica's urban landscape, guiding traffic flow and ensuring road safety for motorists and pedestrians alike. Today, they are a ubiquitous feature of Jamaican cities, reflecting the island's commitment to modernization and progress. I haven't been able to get an exact amount of stoplights in Jamaica because one source says 800 plus and another says 1009. Which do you think is correct? Let me know in the comment section because I will put my answer there also. The first stoplight in Hanover was installed on September 22, 2022, and the first one in Trelawney was installed in 2019. I do not have the exact month. The installation of the first stoplight in St. Thomas in 2023 represents a continuation of this legacy, as even smaller parishes embrace the benefits of modern traffic management. Albion in St. Thomas now joins the ranks of Jamaican communities with access to this essential infrastructure, marking a new chapter in the parish's transportation history. So as we reflect on the history of stoplights in Jamaica, it's essential to recognize their impact on shaping the island's transportation infrastructure and culture. From humble beginnings to modern innovations, stoplights have played a vital role in facilitating safe and efficient travel across the island. So the next time you're stopped at a red light in Jamaica, take a moment to appreciate the history and innovation behind these seemingly ordinary traffic signals. And as we conclude this fascinating exploration, we're reminded that every red light tells a story of progress and safety. From the first installation in Kingston to the recent milestone in St. Thomas, the evolution of stoplights in Jamaica reflects a journey of innovation and modernization. Have you ever received a package that made it to your place by mistake? Well, Jamaica had something pretty similar happen way back in the early 19th century. It all went down in the small coastal town of Lucia, spelled Lucy, in Hanover, Jamaica. Now the name Hanover sounds quite German, and you'd be right to assume as such. At this time, there was a heavy European presence in Jamaica, due to a long history of colonialism and slave trading. Thus, Jamaica's second smallest parish had German residents who owned land in its primary township, and these residents had ordered a clock to be erected in Lucy. But as it turns out, there was a mix-up in transit. Welcome back to Elite Jamaica. My name is Alex, and today we will be taking a look at how a German clock ended up in Jamaica. As the story goes, the township's name bore a striking resemblance to St. Lucia in the Eastern Caribbean. A sea captain that was charged to ship a German gifted clock to St. Lucia confused Lucia with Lucy.
I'm telling you, the light would work better if it pointed out to sea. Shut up! I know what I'm doing.
And he can hardly be blamed for the mix-up, since Lucy had been known as Lucia and a few other similar names after its establishment. When the clock arrived, after its long journey from Germany, the townsfolk of Lucy refused to let it go. As mentioned, prior to the wrong clock being shipped to their town, Lucian residents had ordered a less extravagant time teller. Since they had already brokered a deal to have their own clock, they paid the difference between the St. Lucia and Lucy clocks and took ownership of their neighbor's gift. Try settling that through UPS in today's world. But not long afterward, a local landowner financed the final construction of the clock in 1817. In terms of geography, Lucy sits between two of Jamaica's biggest resort destinations, Negril and Montego Bay. Many tourists pass the clock every day, perhaps not knowing the history that's tied to its most prominent feature. Being over 200 years old, the clock has been upkept really well. Its resemblance to a German Royal Guard helmet denotes its original purpose, to stand as a proud gift from Germany to the population of St. Lucia. Fortunately for Lucy, the misinterpretation of one ship captain's orders set them up for an iconic piece.
I hate the sea and everything in it.
Its 4 dials face out in every direction from the tower the movement resides in. If yourself or anyone you know makes it down to Jamaica, be sure to keep an eye out for it or an ear out for its chimes. It's a part of Jamaica's history with colonialism that has stood through great social change and upheaval. What's more, it's a testament to what can be accomplished when something gets sent to the wrong address. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more intriguing videos from around Jamaica. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and thanks again for watching. Stay blessed.